welcome to Chase ABE's Brick and Mortar versus E-commerce, which is the best fit for you and your business. Where we are going to be discussing how Black businesses can best weigh their options on whether to open a physical store or to utilize e-commerce storefronts or to implement a combination of both options to improve their customer experience. Now, on behalf of our president, Ron Busby, our board, our chambers, and our staff, I want to thank you all for attending, and our apologies as well as we experienced some technical difficulties at the beginning of this webinar. Now, I'm Philip W. Dunn, Program Manager and Chamber Engagement Leader with the U.S. Black Chambers, Inc., affectionately known as the global voice of Black businesses. We represent over 160 Black chambers of commerce and small businesses across the nation, and we are founded on 5 pillars of service. They are advocacy, access to capital, contracting or procurement, entrepreneurial training, and chamber development. Now, this webinar was crafted in collaboration with our chambers of commerce, providing technical assistance and resources to businesses across the United States with the U.S. Small Business Administration Community Navigator pilot program. And we thank them for their assistance in developing and sharing this program. Now, our team at USBC, as well as our 20 Navigator chambers, we look forward to being a resource to you and to your business as you navigate through this journey. Now, before we introduce today's guest, I encourage you all to drop all of your questions into the chat. We're going to enable the chat as well as the Q&A feature here in a couple of seconds. But we'll make sure to address as many of those questions as possible by the end of today's webinar. Now, today we welcome a very special guest, Katrina Sicard, who is a senior business consultant for JP Chase in Washington, D.C. Now, Christina has over 12 years of experience at Chase and over 15 years in financial services altogether. Now, as a senior business consultant, she uses her extensive background in human capital management, business development, software sales, and as a business banking relationship manager to businesses between 1 million and say a little more than $20 million in revenue to provide them with assistance in leveraging payroll, treasury services, and multiple types of credit facilities to assist them in creating cost efficiencies and effectiveness that improves their overall bottom line. And it also helps to scale their businesses as well. Now, they do this in order to achieve their desired level of success and equity valuations in most cases, and even help to solve the problem of generational wealth by using one-on-one coaching and mentorship, which she is actively doing now with many businesses. Now, today, Christina is going to cover the disadvantages of having a brick and mortar and the cost associated with that, why brick and mortars are still a viable option in today's tech-heavy society, why e-commerce is a great option, and then also, of course, so much more. Now, before Mr. Card starts this presentation, we'd like to conduct a quick poll just to see how many people present today on this webinar either have a brick and mortar store, or how many people have an e-commerce store, how many people have a hybrid model of both, how many people have been in business for more than a year to maybe 24 months, and then how many people are in business between 2 years and 5 years. And then we want to also understand how many people have been in business for even more than that. So we'll put this poll together and we'll issue this poll shortly. But what we'd like to do is we'll make sure to implement that poll, but we want to go ahead and bring out Christina, who is going to share a little bit of information about herself. Christina, we welcome you.
Thank you so much, Philip, and you've done it all. At first, I was looking for Katrina. I was like, who's that? Just joking. I think you said a lot. Again, Christina Sicard, business consultant here with JP Chase. My work here is working with diverse-owned businesses to help them scale and basically to help them understand what it is that they need from a banking perspective to get access to capital, as well as, how to navigate the waters around untraditional, conventional financing and opportunities there, and ways to look at structuring their business from management to cash flow to developing a great team of advisors to help them with their overall success. And so I do that, like you said, on a one-on-one basis with businesses. This is a new line of business for us here at JP Morgan Chase, and I've been here for 13 years. And it's probably some of the most rewarding work that I've had the opportunity to provide to, communities, diverse owned businesses, and we're, growing and evolving our business, as we go and as we learn. So thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to this conversation, and I look forward to the Q&A afterwards, and getting feedback from the audience as well. And we're always looking to, again, add mentees to our program. We have 50 consultants nationwide that do this work that I do. So I have a team behind me. And so we'd love for people to weigh in and get access to them. You can go to chase.com/business consultant to put in an inquiry with one of us, and someone will reach out to you. And I'll give some more details about how to reach out to me specifically at the end of the broadcast. And I'll turn it back over to you, Philip.
Couldn't find that mute button, and I couldn't find the the picture button. But thank you so much for sharing that, Christina, and for being here today and sharing of your time and your expertise. We're so very looking forward to the information that you're going to provide. All right, so how many of you present today on this webinar have the following business models? If you have a brick and mortar store, an e-commerce store, a hybrid of both models, please go ahead and respond to this question, number one. And it won't let me vote. I was hoping to vote in this election.
I can't vote either.
That won't let you vote. Well, tell us, Katrina, as a banker, do you also have your own business that you run? And if so, is it e-commerce? Is it brick and mortar, or both?
So right now, I would say I'm in the process of working on a business idea. So I don't want to give too much away about that yet. Kind of holding that closer to the chest. But I will say that as a business development officer, in the way that I work, we kind of manage our own business at Chase. So it's kind of similar. And I don't think it falls into, I think it falls into both, like building your brand, both online as well as, servicing clients that walk in to the branches or that we meet at networking events or different things like that. And so, we're very much responsible for, bringing in, prior to this role, bringing in deposits, credit balances, new relationships. And so a lot of that is pretty much owning your own business and really getting out there and doing what you have to do to meet your numbers and your goals. And people don't realize how much sales is involved in that. And so I kind of say it's like the closest step to being an entrepreneur, but still kind of under a corporate umbrella. Because you really do own your own schedule, your own day, and you're going to dictate your own future, whether you're going to be successful or not, based on how well you do those activities to get you to your desired goals.
That's perfect, perfect. And thank you for answering that question for us. And while you were sharing that information, our poll results, we can go ahead and close the poll and let's see what our responses were. Okay, it looks like we have a pretty good number of folks that are using e-commerce platforms to run their business. About 73% of the folks responding. And then a smaller number have brick and mortar stores, but then I'm seeing that we don't have anyone that has the hybrid of both models. So that's kind of interesting
Interesting.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also they went ahead and they answered question number 2 for us, and about 45% of our folks have been in business for 2 to 5 years. So this is pretty encouraging. We do have some folks that have been out there for a while. They're learning more about e-commerce platforms, and then of course the cost associated with them. So I'm interested to know, Christina, what would you say about these results?
Very interesting. And I think we're going to talk a lot about uh, the value of brick and mortar. I think a lot of people think brick and mortar is dead, and I do think that we're going to highlight some areas of opportunity for folks there to maybe take advantage of that, especially if they're only in an e-commerce space. And it's interesting to see that the brick and mortar folks do not have online presence, which I think they're going to see some opportunity to increase revenue by looking at some of the information that we present today. So I think I'm really excited, and a lot of tenured people as well. So hopefully we'll be able to shed some light on some things that might help them to put it into practice.
Perfect. Okay, so then without any further ado, I know that you brought a presentation to share with us. I'd like for us to jump right into that. And as we have questions that pop up, we're going to make sure that we get those funneled to you to get those either answered during the presentation or towards the end of the presentation.
Okay. Now, Philip, do I have a little extra time since we kind of started a little late, or?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Okay, good. Well, actually, I do. Oh, okay, well, we'll work on that anyway. But let's get started. So we did our survey. That's great. We all know what we're here to talk about. So let's go ahead and jump in. We can go on to the next slide. Basically, so everyone thinks retail is dead, and I think there's a lot of obvious reasons, right? There's higher operating costs. You're going to have to pay for things like your rent, your staff, a management team, having, all the different things in place just to operate lights, utilities and everything. So a lot of time, that's some of the big disadvantage of the brick and mortar, especially when we're not seeing as much traffic as we once used to see prior to the internet, right? When I was growing up, I spent all my days at the mall shopping and going to stores, and there was a high influx of people. So I think the limited geographical reach, I think what we typically see with businesses is you need to have multiple locations to start to really see a good return. So we're talking about location 2, location 3, location 4, and sometimes that's how you see businesses grow and they start to offset some of the costs. So if you have one location that's underperforming, then you can actually kind of, dwindle that noise out by having other operations that might do better. And so a lot of times people don't really start to see profitability until they're at, their second or third location. So limited geographical reach is a big story. And then inventory management. So many people have items that don't sell well, or maybe we have such a picky customer base these days, and trends are shifting so quickly. It's hard to manage whether what's going to be the appropriate stock to have in, is this going to be an item that's going to want to sell? Do I have to push everything to clearance? And those are some of the things that people don't do, and I encourage them to do. If you have inventory that's not selling, put it on sale and get it out. A lot of times I think people hold on to things longer than they should because they realize how much they paid, or they're stuck at this cost that they want to make in terms of profit. But if you can even break even and just sell it for what you paid, get it out, because I think the longer you have stale items in place, people are seeing that, and that's kind of, I think, a lot of things happen by the eye of the beholder. And so to see you with old things every time or the same product that was there the last time I came in, then kind of gives you a mind shift. And I think people want to come in and see new things all the time. So competition from e-commerce, obviously, I'm guilty of it. I'll go in Home Goods and I'm shopping, and I'll literally go online to see if I can find it cheaper, and we'll walk out the store even though it's right in front of me, because I know I can get it for a better price on Amazon. So competing with the e-commerce, business, where they can a lot of times sell products for a much cheaper price, is difficult. And we talked about the shifting trends and traffic fluctuation. And then we've seen a high level of security, especially post-pandemic, and theft, with people running into stores. And so now people are concerned about, do I need to have security? Is that another extra cost? So those are just some of the challenges around the brick and mortar that a lot of people have, traditionally been dealing with, and some newer nuances as we, become more technologically savvy. So we can move on to the next slide and talk about what are the advantages of brick and mortar, right? It's not bad all the way around. So what are some of the reasons why people love brick and mortar still, right? People want to have a touchy feely experience. Sometimes they want to be able to try things on and see how it fits. I know for me, I have several items upstairs that I have to go to the post office on Saturday and return because it wasn't a good fit. I didn't like the product once I got it because it wasn't what I thought it would be. And a lot of things, especially when it comes to shoes, that's a very sensitive piece for me, because I have wide feet and it's difficult for me to buy shoes online that actually work for me. So a lot of times there's still a reason to have that brick and mortar option. And some people want to have interaction and get out and do things. And shopping is a thing that people love to do, especially now that we're, post pandemic. It's like, it's a breath of fresh air to get out and interact and see things and touch and go to places. And especially if you can create the ambiance and make it more of a customer experience where I feel special when I walk in. And a lot of this is what a lot of boutiques or specialty stores are working towards, creating these great places to go meeting places or destination places. It also gives you brand visibility, right? Because once you've been a successful, once you like have a business, especially if it's e-commerce, and now you go to brick and mortar and you have a brick and mortar, it now gives you more of a platform to be seen, kind of like your billboard, right? Your store is your billboard on the street, and people can actually see and get a better idea of your product. And then, without, it's good old sales, right? Opportunities to upsell and cross sell. People walk in and, it gives you an opportunity to say, hey, look at this. Maybe I can put this together for you. Places like Nordstrom, they have the personal stylist, right? That's been a big hit for them, because a lot of people need help. Everyone isn't fashionably sensible, or maybe you're going in to buy candles and you want to, learn more about what's the right candle. Maybe you have allergic reactions, or maybe you want to try different lotions or scents, or just whatever it is. Going into a store gives you the opportunity to talk to someone that is trained in that product and can help you to make a better pick that would satisfy you in the long run. And then you might end up spending way more than you expected when you first walked into the store. And then the opportunities around shipping costs. I remember when we were coming out of the pandemic, shipping costs were out the wazoo. The cost involved with that, and just the unpredictability on when you're going to get your goods. Are you going to get your goods? Stolen goods. So a lot of times brick and mortar is still a really good viable option if it's thought out properly, and you really put the energy into making sure that you have the right people in place to create the right environment. So, any questions there, or Phil, anything you wanted to add before I move on to the next slide?
Yeah, And I'm glad that we are kind of pausing here. When we think about brick and mortar, and you kind of alluded to this, there's a number of big name box stores that are kind of closing things down. Target has recently announced that they're closing about 9 of their locations across the United States in major cities. And so when I think about that, I think about some of these smaller mom and pops that have an opportunity to expand their brand presence in some of these cities, and they can go and post up in certain places throughout the city. I've also seen where we're in Halloween season right now, and all throughout the area where I live, there's these different Halloween stores that are taking over some physical spaces that are unused for a short period of time. So brick and mortar could be something that could be used as a temporary strategy as well in order to sell your products. And so for those folks that are doing pop-up shops or things like that, what advice would you give to them on going out, either doing a pop-up shop or taking advantage of unused space to sell their products?
I think first of all, I agree with you because even when you look at just to kind of talk to your earlier point, when you look at places like Targets where they have the mini Targets, right? They're going from these big locations to these smaller locations where they have done a better job of curating just the right amount of products and things that make sense for people to walk in and out quickly and get to what they need, and then also consume some of the items that they really want or the best sellers. So to answer your second point, I think it's number one, really understanding the demographic of the neighborhood in which the pop-up is going to be located. What is it made up of? Like, we have so much opportunity around research with internet, chat GPT, and all of the different ways to find out information. You should never go into anything these days without looking at who your customer base is and what they represent and what are the needs of that community. And then you want to then think about the products and the price point that's going to make sense for the people in that specific demographic, and what are the things that are going to sell well, that make sense, that are the right dollar point, and then what are some add-ins that could be very viable. So if you're in an area with a high percentage of moms with families and different things, are you going to have things like kids, things for the kids, socks and everyday wear, things that would be fun for them to take to school, backpacks, pencils, things that the kids, lunch boxes, things that make sense for those people in that area, along with whatever, you really want to bring to the table. And that's called just kind of building up your ticket items so that no matter what, you have something for everybody. And it's a lot of time, I think entrepreneurs go into it with, this is what I want to sell. Like, this is what I want to bring to the table, versus thinking about who is your audience and what do they want? What can they afford? What are they willing to spend? And what are they spending? Who are they spending money with in the area? And then also, how can you collaborate maybe with other people in that area, or who already have been, maybe there's some standing fixed brick and mortar stores there, learning, going in, speaking with them, understanding more about the traffic in that area and what they typically see, and just networking and finding ways to create synergy.
Mm-hmm. And thank you for responding to that. I know that there's going to be some additional questions that will come up in the chat. There was a question from Jamila earlier, and I think you'll probably get to this, but she runs her brick and mortar out of her home, and she wants to know how to expand into e-commerce. So I don't know if that's a question response for now, or if you can give us some hints throughout the remainder of the webinar.
Well, depending on what she's selling, there's some different platforms that you can go to, like Shopify, There's some other platforms assorted with some of the options for merchant services. It's escaping my mind now, where they offer platforms. It's going to come back to me which one it is. But they have a really nice platform that's cost effective, where you can actually just upload your items right away. And they kind of create the platform for you, and you can go there and you can start to sell. And they actually have SEO optimization for you that helps drive business to the website. So without having to think really hard, you can go to some of these online shopping platforms and just actually start to create a profile for yourself and start uploading things from your for a store from yourself. And that's the easy way. And then you can be doing things as well on Instagram, Facebook Marketplace. Those are some really great ways. So if you have an Instagram, turn it into a business Instagram. Then you can start building out ways to start loading products onto the Instagram platform. And if you need help, you can always go to YouTube, and they have videos. Those things don't cost any money, and they can walk you through how to create an online shopping boutique on Instagram. And then you can start to do things like buy ads. And with the ads, that drives business there. And they have some really easy ad programs on Instagram and Facebook Marketplace. And Google Business is another place where you can actually go and set up a profile, and that's free. And they have a lot of online resources around setting things up for your business so that you can start to create an online platform for yourself, and start to really take your business to the next level by creating that online presence and platform for yourself and the business.
Awesome, awesome. So I know you've kind of given us some nuggets on how to get there. And in this next slide, I know that you're going to tell us a little bit more about why e-commerce overall is a great option.
Right. So the opposite of the brick and mortar, right? Lower operating costs. You're, usually doing things at home. You can or on your computer, you can do it on the move. There's so many things you can actually do from your phone. So it just makes it a lot of a less headache in terms of dealing with the other expenses that come with the rent, the utilities, the people. And, it allows you to reach a lot of people, right? You have unlimited reach. You're not just limited maybe to the area where you live, but when you're online, depending on how you're promoting your business. And that's what a great way to utilize social media. For a long time, I didn't use a lot of social media because I said I'm not using it until I have something to promote, right? So I didn't use it like as crazy as most people would. But that's what these platforms are for, to promote what you're selling. And so once you've created this e-commerce business, you should be using the other opportunities to create social media impact and drive people to your website, right? And you do that through posting videos, showing your products, being consistent, right? Maybe if you don't do it once a day, at least 3 times a week, you should be using things like Facebook. And depends on who your demographic is, right? If you're dealing with a young audience, you definitely might want to use TikTok and Instagram and really dive into those programs. But if you're gonna be dealing with a product that reaches a mature demographic, Facebook is really good. A lot of people discount how well Facebook is working in terms of a marketing tool. And it is really good, especially because they have a lot of groups that you can enter into to help you with getting noticeable, or putting yourself out there. So another thing about e-commerce is usually there's going to be data, right? So with the data, this gives you an opportunity to basically do targeted marketing. You can send automated emails, text messages. You can create newsletters and send them monthly, quarterly. You can find ways to really reach your customers and really get them to where you're top of mind by creating these campaigns. And a lot of times you can create it, set it, and forget it, right? And move along. And so it gives you an opportunity to really impact your reach. You want to create campaigns around, how do you reach your best customer? So this goes back to data. The other part of this, the analytical part. So not only are you driving information, but you're able to receive back information, right? So now you can say, all right, this is who I'm reaching. These are the products that are selling well. This is my top customer. This is their age group. This is who they are. Are they female? Are they male? Are they, teenagers? Where do they fit? This is what they typically like. This is what they're buying. And this allows you to really go into it, your buying process or your delivery of service with a better idea of what you should be doing and what you should double down on. That's what a lot of people aren't taking the time to do, is they're doing their business, but they're not sitting back to analyze what's working and what's not. Because you should be taking a snapshot view at least once a quarter to say, this worked, this is my top customer, how do I reward them, double down on them, get them to actually support me more and give back to them. And then this is my next to best customer, right? They don't come all the time, but they're here often. So what can I do to target these clients so that they can come back and receive me again and start to shop more, or refer me to other people? And then you want to have a framework for the people that aren't really tapped in, right? How can you get them to tap in and all of this is around data. And a lot of this you can reach from using these online platforms, because they're going to give you the analytics. Instagram will give you the marketing, who you reached, how did you reach them, who was the target market, right? Everything you need to know. And then you take that information is gold, and then you use that to now come up with your marketing for the next quarter and plan ahead. And if you do this enough, you should be able to really reach the level and peak that you want to hit in terms of your numbers. And so with me, everything is a numbers game. So we really love the data that comes from the marketing. And then make money while you sleep, right? 24/7, people are buying things while you're, whether you're on or off, whether you're on vacation or not, right? You just have to make sure you have the right processes in place to manage that on the back end. Is the customer service there? Are you able to get the products out to your customer? Does that supply chain work well? Because if it doesn't, then your e-commerce business is not going to be successful. So before you go on vacation and let it run, you have to make sure that you have a well-oiled machine that is working. And if you do, now you have the ability to sit back, take a nap, and know that money is cha-chinging while you're taking a nap. And then, scalability, right? There's not as much cost as opening a new location, going to a new place, right? You're able to reach as many people as you want to reach. As much as wide as this internet is, that's as wide as you can be if you have the bandwidth, right? But there's no cap to where you can go in terms of the amount of viable customers that are out there for you to reach, whether it's here in the United States, whether it's overseas, wherever that may be. You can start a business and start selling goods wherever the demand warrants what you're providing. So customer reviews and feedback, and is amazing, because a lot of times people don't want to tell you to your face that this isn't great, right? A lot of people hide behind the keyboard, and they feel more comfortable saying, hey, telling you what's the bad about your product. And you have to be open to criticism. You don't get better. Everything's not great. You're not 100%. And reviews and feedback, I think, just even working at a large firm like I work at, We have feedback buttons everywhere.
Mhm.
We're constantly giving surveys. And what I love about my company is they actually take the feedback and find ways to meet the needs of the people. The customer's always right, right? So even if you don't agree, you get the feedback and the reviews and you find a way to incorporate it so that you can, listen to what the people are saying and have your ears to, the ground level.
It, I want to kind of recap and respond to some of what you just said, Christina, because if we just start from the top, low operating costs. Obviously, if I'm an e-commerce business or I have an e-commerce business, all I need is my laptop for the most part, maybe even my cell phone, and I can move around whether I'm at home, if I'm a student, whether I'm at school, or as part of a side hustle. All I need is the cost associated with that, whether it's internet service. So we're talking very low cost for e-commerce operators. The other thing is, if I do have that brick and mortar, yes, it does give me some brand presence on the street, but I'm also limited to the people that are passing by that brick and mortar location. Whereas on the internet, anyone can find you anytime, night and day. Getting back to that 24/7 accessibility for customers. The customer reviews. This kind of goes into something that I've done personally is online communities. Building an online community either around your business or around your product or your service, you can draw so many people that can, maybe they're not all customers, but they can act as advocates for your brand, and they can share that information, and they can be the ones to sort of lead some of those customer reviews and provide the feedback. So there's all sorts of different opportunities for folks who are e-commerce driven businesses to help to grow and scale their business. I'm a witness to it. I've sold coffee mugs and T-shirts online, and I've used platforms that actually they carry the inventory. I just provide the platform and put my brand on it, and I'm able to sell these products. And also bring along with me a community to help support this product. So it works. It's a great opportunity. But then I also know there are some drawbacks, and I don't want to give away too much because I know you'll tell us a little bit about this. But in dealing with e-commerce, there are some costs that everyone needs to be aware of. Transaction costs, setup costs. In some instances, a lot of these platforms are free. But I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about what some of the drawbacks are as we go into this next slide.
100%. Well, listen, the number one is for me is refunds and exchanges, right? When you look at the difference between brick and mortar and e-commerce, I think brick and commerce has about an 8% return rate of return versus 30% in e-commerce. So you have to be prepared for what it costs in terms of the refund and how are you going to deal with that additional cost, right? Do you pass that on to the customer that they have to mail it back? And, what does that process look like? And is it even a process that people are going to want to do or continue to shop with you if they don't like that return process? So that's like the number one issue with e-commerce that you have to really think about is how do you manage that dissatisfaction from the consumer, and how are you going to make it, because there's going to always be dissatisfaction, but how are you going to turn dissatisfaction into a more pleasant experience so that it doesn't impact future sales? So I think that's number one. The lack of personal interaction. A lot of times I think people discount how much having someone to talk to, a great person that you can, relate to, build rapport with, and that really makes you feel comfortable in the space when shopping, or, that there's a lot to be said for that. So I think, the face-to-face is still always great. A lot of people like to know, like to be able to go in and talk to people and get feedback about what they're trying on or what they're potentially buying, or why this is a good product compared to some of the other things that they've seen. And so that can kind of help to direct sales for the business owner. Security concerns, right? With everything with cybersecurity, people don't really understand what goes into that and how to really make sure that they're mitigating their risk in terms of the type of cyber threats that we're seeing. And they're increasingly big these days. And there's no way, there's no level of figuring out how to beat them, because they're always a step ahead. These, data terrorists, you want to call them, that come in and can do different things. So there's also a huge amount of competition. Everyone has an online boutique. Everyone's selling things on Instagram. Ads are coming up everywhere. So while it might seem fun and easy, it's not. And there's a high cost sometimes to those marketing programs. And I had a client tell me one time that he was buying ads on Instagram and then he stopped, and now he thinks that he went into a black hole and that they put him on like black hole, like in like this black hole, because he doesn't want to spend on ads. And now he feels like none of his information is being seen, or his posts are being seen, because he doesn't spend on the ads. It's either that, or maybe the ads were just bringing him that much business. I don't know which one it is, and they're not going to tell us, but that's his thought about it, is that they're against him now because he doesn't spend. So the shipping costs that go along with dealing with, getting things out to your customers in a timely fashion, right? Because a lot of the complaints, if you don't get the information to your customer, they have a huge platform to give feedback and to discredit your service. And all you need, I live and die by reviews. So I could see 5 great reviews and I see 1 review that's bad, and I'm like, oh, that's the truth, and I'm gonna move on. So the challenge in like, you have to really come with your A game if you want to be successful, because there's so much, and people online, there's so much more fickle than I think the in-person client. And people, they're just mean, and they say things even if it's not true. They just, once they get on the keys, they're just typing away, and I think it's just a different level of what to expect from the reviews. So we already talked about the returns, some of the supply chain challenges. What, you talked about like drop and ship, and that works well until it doesn't, until we're in a situation where nothing can get out, everything's stuck in the supply chain. Now what do? You don't have product up on your website, and that kind of takes down the legitimacy. Or how, if I go to your website and every time you don't have things or it's sold out, well, I'm not gonna always necessarily come back, because it seems like I'm on to the next, right? There's someone else that has product and has what we need. And so the other thing is keeping up with technology trends, right? So there's so many new things happening every day, and you have to stay abreast of it, right? People are doing things like augmented reality, where you can actually buy furniture and see it visually in your house, how it looks, right? I love that. I've tried it, and it's like really nice to kind of look at and see. So implementing things like that, or maybe having online AI customer service that can talk back to your customers and in real time and chat with them, or a chat box, or all of these different things that you need to learn how to continuously navigate to stay ahead. Because if your competitor's doing it and you're not doing it, you're already at a disadvantage. So trying to keep up with the technology trends in terms to make sure that your store is, on par with what else is out there, it can be really tough and challenging, especially, you know, depending on what age you are, if you didn't grow up in that demographic, it's not always easy. Then next time you might need to hire someone, you know, maybe talk to your kids or, you know, find an intern that can come in and help with some of these things, because it does get challenging the more and more you try to learn as technology is moving at an overly rapid pace compared to how it has historically.
And you don't say any of this to discourage folks from participating in e-commerce. It's just to prepare you. You know, one of the main things that, you know, you mentioned the returns. I had somebody order a whole bunch of coffee mugs, and two of them were broken in the box. And, you know, I didn't even know how to handle it. And so the company that shipped it, they were able to replace them at no cost. But I didn't have a process for that until it happened. The issue of supply chain challenges during the pandemic, because of the T-shirts that I was selling, you know, they were coming out of a different country, and then you would start to see the drop shipper, they were taking down, you know, certain sizes, certain colors of T-shirts, and so man, it's like everything that I'm offering that would normally sell is no longer on the shelf, so to speak, electronically. And then you mentioned the client that was experiencing what he felt like was shadow banning. Yeah, there is some concern that, yeah, I've been spending $250 a month on advertising. When I stop, then my organic reach isn't enough to reach that audience. So there's all sorts of things that have to be considered. And don't get me wrong, paying for advertising is great. It will get you the customers, but you have to be mindful of the costs associated with that. And then also how to
And how
manage
long
your
can you
organic. Yeah. So
sustain it?
there's a ton of things. Yeah.
Not only that, I think what a lot of people discount, and we can probably go to the next slide, but um, the one thing that I think that people don't think about with e-commerce, which it's great. You can reach all these people, you can get all of these great sales, you have much more of an opportunity base. Jamila said, what are what's the benefit? Well, the opportunity, right? You have so much more of a reach than just who's in your direct peripheral of your neighborhood of where you stand, right? So the opportunity to get out and do more with less is what e-commerce brings you, right? The opportunity to reach 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 more people than you can in your brick and mortar is great. But then the difference in that is it's harder to build a real relationship, meaning why do I go to PJ's Coffee, which is around the corner from where I live, versus Starbucks? Because there's a sense of home and a feeling of relationship and a feeling of I like it, even though they take longer. They're much, you know, they're probably more expensive, but the feeling I get there, you can't create that online. So when there's economic challenges, market fluctuations, and people don't have as much money, they can quickly fall back. Versus when you create community, which we'll talk a little bit more about, when you create community in your neighborhood, you know, people tend to come in and support and do things and spend money because they've built this connection with that local store, you know, to where you want to walk in and make sure that they're supporting their local business, where that's hard to create that online. So just a little something to think about as well when you're thinking about the e-commerce.
And
So,
appreciate you for sharing that additional information. And Christina, out of respect for your time and our audience's time, we have about 9 more minutes. And so I
okay.
wonder if you can give us everything that you know in that 9 minutes, and so we can send our audience off on a good note.
So I think that it doesn't need to be one or the other unless you have a very specific product and it's like, okay, I can only do this online, or I have this specific service and I can only have a brick and mortar. I think it's best to have a combination of both, a hybrid, because what did we learn from the pandemic? You have to be able to pivot. When people had to close their doors, when there was no walk-in traffic, what did you do? Do you have a plan B? And I think kind of what this says with an omni-channel integration is you want to have the best of both worlds, right? You want to be able to have multiple income streams. That means if you have a brick and mortar, you should also find a way to have some services online so that you can appeal to other people outside of your immediate demographic. You should also still be traveling. You should still go to pop-up shows and go to places that are having trunk shows so you can get more visibility out there while you're on the road. Just because you own a clothing store, does that mean you still shouldn't try to approach maybe a department store to see if they want to carry your products as well, in addition to what you're doing? Like, you should have an acquisition pie and have multiple streams of income, meaning your brick and mortar along with your e-commerce. So I don't think it should ever be one or the other. And the same goes with building the e-commerce platform. You can start there, and once you have the e-commerce up and running, then maybe you should also be doing pop-up stores. And I think with the new wave of what we're seeing in terms of just department stores and big malls are shutting down, I think we're starting to see a pullback to more of a neighborhood approach, right? So when you see these like mixed use development offerings where they have apartment buildings with retail on the bottom, and then they create a whole ecosystem around where you have shopping stores and it's more of a walk-up approach as opposed to the mall approach. I think that's a really great way to revision or rethink what the typical look was for having a brick and mortar. And actually we're kind of retracting back to older patterns of the neighborhood approach and feel. And so I think it's really good that if you've built up that e-commerce platform, but you want to create some buzz in your neighborhood and really you should be owning the space where you live in the state you are, and figure out, how can I own this space so that when people come to visit Maryland or Jersey or whatever, that I have a presence as a Jersey-based company here, not just online, right? Because now you create a destination for your customers who say, oh, I want to go to the store when I'm in town visiting and see what it's like, and create an experience, right? When I go to the nail salon spa, like years ago, there were only a few salons that had champagne or wine or sangria for you, right? Now everywhere you go, they're doing that. Or host events in your brick and mortar, right? So what about having different reasons for people to come in, whether it's a demo, whether it's you're offering, having someone come in store to market other items, or collaborate with other folks who might not have a business, but they have items and they have a following, but they have no brick and mortar. Well, give them an opportunity to come into your location and highlight some of the things that they offer. And guess what? You just now got access to a new audience that you didn't have before, that can come into your store and now see some of your information. And then by collaborating, they're posting your business. So now let's say they have 50, 60,000 followers. You just opened up your business to now 60,000 new followers that you didn't have before. So doing things like that. And I think also with the brick and mortar, you want to think about community. You can't be in the community and not be part of the community. So what are you going to do? Do you create organic events, back to school events? Maybe do something for, moms who need help with kids or giveaways or just different things to get the community involved and really give back to the community. It can't always be a take, take, take. You have to pour into the community that you're a part of, because they will continue to support you if you support them. So I think finding ways to reach in and do that while creating a great customer experience, and then also integrating technology where you can, right? So doing different things. What if you have an ability for people to come into your store and you have a stand up tech stand where they can customize something from your brand, right? So rather than, now you're taking it to another experience, just like Nike does that online. Maybe you could do that in the store where they could actually do that, customize it, and then now you can help them create their own brand within your, their own offering within your brand. But just thinking about ways to make things interactive and allow people to do the fun techie stuff and make it, either kid friendly or adult sexy or whatever whoever you want to appeal to. How can I create this environment? And if I have the brick and mortar, how can I take this to online so that I can increase my actual offering in terms of the income, and really reach more people and drive them to the store when they're visiting, and create rewards programs. And the last thing is subscription-based services, right? Find a way to maybe encompass and something you're offering that you can ask people to pay a monthly fee for, or the box ideas, or create something that you can send out and say, hey, we can send you a box of, these items a month, or if you subscribe, you can get this service, or I can provide, additional styling online for X amount per month, or, whatever it is you can do. But I think we need to incorporate all of these ideas to either grow our business or, increase our revenue, and just find ways to really take ourselves to the next level. So I think I'll leave it there.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Christina. We're going to skip down to the thank you slide, Warren, and just give folks an opportunity to scan Christina's QR code, and then, just kind of take a moment to let us know how you like this presentation, and a little bit more about the information that you want to hear in future presentations. And then you'll also get a chance to see some of Christina's contact information there as well. So if you do want to reach out to Christina, she's making it possible for you to reach out to her. And then also, I know that you do have a couple of folks that you mentor, business owners, entrepreneurs, but as openings occur and you'd like to have a mentor, I'm sure that Christina has a number of folks that she could share with you, or she might be willing to mentor you herself. So
I'm 100% open right now. So I do have some capacity. I've just graduated quite a few people. So I am looking to bring in more clients at this time. So please reach out to me, and definitely would love to help. And I also would love the feedback. So please, if you could take the time to, scan the QR code and do the survey, because we want to get feedback. We want to see, is this working? Can we do more of this? As I mentioned, we're growing our line of business. So we want to see that we're out here and we're creating impact, or hear what else we could be doing better to really help amplify the work that we're doing.
awesome. Awesome. Well, what I'd like to do, again, I want to thank you, Christina, for your time, for your wisdom, for your information, for sharing so much with us. And I want to thank all of our folks in the audience for attending this Chase ABE brick and mortar versus e-commerce. Which one is the best fit for you and your business? If you have any additional questions that we didn't get to during this presentation, please make sure to email Christina Sicard at chase.com and get those questions answered, get them considered, and let's make sure that we get you a really good response. Now, this whole webinar was made possible through our work with the SBA Community Navigator Pilot Program, which is funded in part through a grant with the U.S. Small Business Administration. Now, a tremendous thank you to Ms. Christina Sicard, Senior Business Consultant with Chase, for sharing all of her wisdom with us today. And we want to thank you to our Community Navigator Chambers for advocating for Black businesses, and to you, our attendees, our viewers, sharing in on this discussion. Now, I want to talk to you just for a couple of seconds about the Buy Black program. Now, USBC, we introduced the Buy Black program. It's the only Black certification program with a business directory. And we provide businesses that certify themselves access to private and public procurement opportunities. We have a number of opportunities that we're sourcing for right now on behalf of our corporate partners. We also highlight other benefits throughout the year, so you get a chance to take advantage of all the different resources and information that we have that's coming through Buy Black. Now, this online program can help to prepare you for the contracting space as a documents preparation guide. So you'll get a chance to take a look at that once you visit usblackchambers.org/certification. The other thing that we do is we invite you to give us your feedback on today's session. Just scan this QR code on our next slide that we have here, or you could go to surveymonkey.com and /r/bizfuture. We really want you all to give us the feedback that we need in order to make these webinars and events even more impactful for you. We also ask that you join us for some of our upcoming events by visiting usblackchambers.org/webinars to register for topics such as our upcoming event, which is taking place on Thursday, TikTok Presents TikTok 101. This is going to cover some of what Christina talked about today. That's taking place this Thursday, October the 19th. And it's going to happen in the afternoon. We're going to be digging a little bit deeper into TikTok advertising. That is a really happening platform right now. And then you can also learn about investors and loan options for your small business. Part 2 is going to be taking place on Tuesday, October 24th, with Katrina Turnbow, Grow with Google Digital Coach. And then we're going to have a watch party, Navigating Cash Flow. It's going to take place on October 31st between 1 and 2 Eastern Standard Time. And then we're going to have another watch party from Chase ABE on marketing in a digital world. And we'll also talk a little bit about supply chain certification and some other information. Lastly, we encourage you all to follow us on social media at usblackchambers.org. And if today's forum prompted additional questions and any additional interest, please feel free to contact us at programs@usblackchambers.org. Now, I want to thank you again for joining us today. I want to give a very special thank you to Christina and the good folks at Chase for being good partners to USBC. Again, on behalf of our President, Ron Busby Sr., our board, our staff, and our many, many chambers, we thank you all, and we hope that you have a great and successful week. Thank you.